Hi, Dr. Gill Randall here on my Instagram Live. I'm the author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet, and the author of my new podcast. Actually, it's not so new anymore. We're on number 15. And we put out one a week, and it's called Soul Stories. And you can find it on any podcast carrier, Apple, Buzzsprouts, Spotify. We're on all of them. And it's really phenomenal. It's basically people who have done something or are doing something to change the planet. So it's very diverse, all the way from actresses to distinguished, esteemed academicians to, just people and, civic leaders, politicians. We had Richard Green on the other day, spiritualists. It's really a fun show, educational, and I think you'll enjoy it. So check it out. Okay, so I put up a post on Easter. I think it was on Easter. And I gave you a little hint about what we're going to do today. And it said, younger, longer. So what I mean by younger, or what most people mean, but what I mean by younger is healthier. So the healthier you are, the younger you're going to feel, the more flexible and energetic you're going to feel, and the more quality of life, and most likely the longer you're going to live. And at least the time that you do live, you're going to feel good and feel better for it. So I'm going to talk about those things. I mean, most people think they know what to do. Most people think they know what to eat. I know that because I see patients on a daily basis. But when you really dig down deep, it's, they might not be eating exactly the right thing, or they could do better. Let's put it that way. So let's talk about what is better. Let's talk about what is optimal. What could you do to make your diet, your life, what you do to take care of yourself, your self-care, absolutely optimal. Okay? Let's go. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is food. Everybody likes to talk about food. I'm a foodie. I love food. So in general, most people, or most of my patients, realize, your food should be organic, or maybe they don't, but your food should be organic at the very least. It should be, if it could be fresh is better than canned or frozen. If it could be farm fresh, that's even better. Locally farmed, that's even better. If you go to the farmer's market, that's even better. But, a lot of our grocery stores carry this stuff now, even Costco. Amazing. A lot of organic food. I remember when I first started recommending, when people say, oh, Dr. Randall, I can't afford organic food. And I tell them, you can't afford not to. Because this is how it's going. This is what our planets need, and this is what our bodies need. You can't fill your body full of herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides, to the end, it won't take it. We're like teapots, and we start building up these toxins in our bodies, and then at some point it boils over, right? So we want to get away from that. We still need to put attention on detox, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that if we have a time, but just don't put them in the first place. So eat organic food. Now, when you get to other little things that are important, like the food should be mostly plants. Mostly plants. If you look at our genetics, and if you look at our, etiology, our pathophysiology, where we come from, if we look at our ancient genes, what are they asking for? What do they want? They want what they evolved doing, and that's whole foods, mostly plants. Okay, and not all this refined sugar stuff, because there was probably this much of my little finger, my little pink fingernail there, refined sugar in 100-mile radius. And the guy that got that little refined sugar, the monkey, the fastest monkey, I guess, maybe he had a little survival advantage for a second because he was faster. He could get up that tree faster, or whatever it was. But now sugar is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on every corner. It's in every store. They have it at the checkout stand. And the thing is it drives our metabolism in the wrong direction. It raises our hemoglobin A1C, gives us diabetes. Diabetes is a huge, huge problem. I think something like 435 million people in the United States have diabetes. But I'll tell you, it's going to be a surprise because it's not all about sugar. We know sugar is bad for us, but it's not all about sugar. So we want whole foods, not the refined foods, mostly plants. Why? Well, the plants have all the phytonutrients in it, and the phytonutrients are the things that act against the toxins. They're the antioxidants. They're the anti-inflammatories, and they're good for your gut because they change your microbiome in a good way. If you eat all those sugars and you eat a whole bunch of meat, they change your microbiome in a bad way. And we know now the microbiome is everything. When I was studying this back at UCLA, funny enough, in Emmermeyer's clinic, who wrote the book now on the gut-brain connection, and I had stool kits, stacked up against the wall in the hall, and everybody thought I was crazy. And they said, no, it's all commensal. It doesn't matter what's in there. It doesn't, what's out of sight, out of mind. And I said, I don't think so, guys. I'm finding a lot of interesting stuff. And of course, lo and behold, yes. The microbiome is everything, and what we eat shifts it, and what its health is what our health is. That's our immunity. 70% of our immunity comes from that microbiome or those bugs inside of us. Okay? And also, not just our immunity, but what? Our ability to digest. I don't think you want to come in my show, do you, Charlotte? It's okay. Hi, Charlotte. So 70% of our immunity comes from our gut, and I know that very well because when I had a sewage flood here in my house, and I was only in here for a couple days, sewage aerosolizes. So if you get that, get the hell out of your house and get a remediator to come help you immediately, because what goes in your gut and what affects your gut, if your gut goes, your immunity blows. Okay, so your gut blows, your immunity goes, and I ended up getting 14 cancers after that little episode. So we know the immunity comes from the gut. I guess I got to experience it firsthand, but we now know that scientifically. So it's very important to know. So we got to take care of it. We got to take care of those little bugs. So how do we take care of them? We eat fermented foods. Go play in your garden and touch the soil and dig around in there, because those spore biotics are in that soil. That's how we used to repopulate ourselves. What the earth was is what we are, So it's a very, very intricate system, but it's not that hard if you know about it. Okay? So that's just the beginning. So that's the beginning of the food. Whole foods, mostly plants. And if you are going to eat meat, it has to be at least organic, at least grass-fed, and not grass-finished. It has to be grass-fed, free range. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, and it only should be about 4 ounces, and not every day. Okay, more to that story. Why? Well, it turns out when you really study diabetes, when they put in all the fast food chains, I won't mention them any specifically, but you know what they are, way back in the 50s, that's when the incidence of cardiovascular disease went up. That's when the incidence of diabetes went up. Everybody thought it was the high fructose corn syrup in the food. It was partly that, but what it really was, they did these crazy studies because everybody was getting diabetes, where they took diabetics and they just gave them sugar. They fed them sugar. And then they took meat away, and then the other ones they left. The ones that just got sugar did better than the ones that ate meat. Is that wild? So it turns out that it's the meat that causes diabetes. The meat. And the industrially raised meat, because it's inflammatory and it's full of fat. Okay? They did a study. Everybody likes keto. I never liked keto. I just sort of intuitively did not like the idea that we were using this emergency mechanism of our brain being able to live on fat to supposedly lose weight or increase our metabolism or whatever. Well, what ends up happening really ultimately, and I'm always worried about it, is it coats the fat, coats your red cells, makes them less effective, and then immediately coats the inside, the endothelium of your vessels, making them more resistant, and it increases your, cardiovascular, disease and problems. But the main thing is it increases your hemoglobin A1C. There's several kinds of fat. There's the fat in olive oil, which is monounsaturated. There's the polyunsaturated in walnuts and things like that. And then there's the unsaturated, or the completely saturated, which is in meat. So when you look at them all differently, they all cause an increase in insulin resistance, but most profoundly, the saturated fat from the meat causes it the most, causes insulin resistance. What's that? That's pre-diabetes. And remember we were talking about the hook between diabetes and meat? Now, that's industrial raised meat. So maybe it's the cytokines, the toxins, the inflammation, the fat, and it's very, very possible, because when you study the meat that's been raised from a regenerative farm, and I love these guys, I had them recently on my show, they're called the Blue Nest Beef. When you study the meat from those animals, they don't have the inflammatory component, they don't have the fat, and it's really, they use biomimicry, so they grow them on a little part of this huge pasture. They do this in the plains. They do it other places too, but I'm talking about the plains states. And it's actually restoring the grasses in the plains states. And it's actually restoring the birds. The plains birds had disappeared. There's a woman named Sarah Carson that wrote a book called Silent Spring, and it was about the disappearance of the birds in the plains, and what that was from was cattle farming and cattle raising. So when you do it in this way, as the buffalo roam, you put them on a certain hectare of land and you allow them to graze, and they only allow them to graze for a short period of time till the grass is like halfway down, and then they move them to another hectare of land, and so forth. And that's like biomimicry, because they're basically mimicking the predator-prey relationship. So the predator comes, moves the animals, just like the buffalo would as they came through the plains, and they would graze here and then move over there and then move over there. So they never really annihilate the grass. They just eat half of it, and it becomes more robust. So when the cattle get back around to it, it has even more phytonutrients in it, so it's stronger, and it's amazing, because they don't have the same toxins in them. They're organic, they're grass-fed, and actually what ends up happening, it's drawing down the carbon from the atmosphere and fixing it, because they're not tilling the land. That's what releases the carbon and the water. They're just allowing if they do grow something, they just make these tiny little cuts and put the seeds in there. But here we're just talking about grass and cattle. So ultimately, the criticism of regenerative farming is that you won't be able to grow enough cattle to, feed. You'd have to fill up the whole United States with grass. Well, it's not true, because when they do it this way and they only let them eat down about halfway and then they move them, the grass comes back more robust the next year, and they can feed up to 4 times more cattle on the same grass. So this is a future farming possibility that can help our planet and help us be healthier. It can help cure diabetes, it can help our carbon debt situation. It can help the poisonous situation and the murderous activities that occur in the meat industry. So I think it's great. What's good for the planet is good for us. What's good for us is good for the planet. So it's a win-win, you know. So Blue Nest Beef, look them up, tell them I sent you. So that's the meat situation. In terms of, so that's food. So it needs to be organic at the least. Hopefully all your vegetables and fruits will be organic. Because, why? Why? Because of the poisons in the non-organic food. Again, herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides are very potent neuroendocrine disruptors, and they send our body south, cause inflammation, cause cardiovascular disease. We don't want that. You know, we can live longer, better if we eat organic food, regeneratively raised meat, and whole foods. So what's that mean? So if you take even an almond and you grind it down into a powder and then you turn it into bread or cookies or whatever, it's refined. But if you eat that almond, it's whole. So for the most part, we'd like you to eat whole foods because the refined goes to sugar faster, and then that encourages the elevated hemoglobin A1C and also a marker called CRP, which is an inflammatory thing. So this is how to keep your body really healthy. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever have a piece of pie or cake or whatever. Randall's rule is if you have something a very 10% of the time, it's not going to really change your course. But try to eat the right way 90% of the time. Then you'll stay younger longer. Okay? So that's a lot about food, but that's not everything. So let's just talk about, people will say, well, what can I eat? What can I eat? What can I eat? Eggs? Well, they say that one egg is equivalent to the inflammatory capability of 5 cigarettes. Unless it's, free range, grass-fed. Okay, so if you're getting those free range, you don't always know, It's hard to know. But if you grew your own chickens and they got to run around and eat grass, that they're better. They're definitely better. And you can tell, if you take a free-range egg compared to a store-bought egg and you put them both in a pan, the free-range egg, the yellow part is super yellow, and the other one is sort of, kind of anemic-looking yellow, and if you touch it, it's tough. It's bouncy, and it's resilient, just like you should be. So, they're better for you. So that's the thing about eggs. Cheese, well, I hate to tell you this, but all dairy that comes from cows has pus in it. And, they allow something like 750 pus cells per milliliter. I know, I'm sorry, but I know it's dinner time. But if you think about it, what's in those pus cells? Cytokines, inflammatory molecules. So if you eat the dairy, or especially cheese, it's just coagulated, purulent material. And if you watch any of these videos or Netflix and stuff of them, they have 17 seconds per animal to check them for disease. That's not very long. I mean, I'm a really good doctor, and I couldn't examine a patient in 17 seconds. And so they're missing abscesses, and when they get them, they pop, and the pus goes everywhere. These things are full of inflammation. And if they're not already from the chemicals that's in them, it's the infections they carry. So, anyhow, no dairy. There are such good alternative dairies, almond milk, coconut milk. I really like oat milk. I put oat milk in my oatmeal, gluten-free, with some berries. Right now we have Harry's berries, which are the best strawberries in the world. And then I heat it in a pan. It tastes like pie. I swear to God, that's my treat. It's just amazing. So that's what I do lots of times for breakfast. So that's a good breakfast. of course, my protein powder, Randall Wellness protein powder, which is 100% vegan, 100% organic. Chocolate and vanilla, tastes like ice cream. I do that with oat milk and berries. It's very good for you. It's anti-inflammatory. It's antioxidant. It's actually part of the detox that we run, and you could have it every morning. Great breakfast. Okay. So, and then fish. People always want to know about fish. See, fish are really good for you. The problem is we've overfished the oceans. I don't know if you guys know this, but when I found this out, it just appalling to me. There are nets in the open areas where they fish that are from 300 feet to 7 miles long, and they're called gill nets, and nothing escapes them. Meaning they scoop up the entire ocean. Okay, 7 miles of it. And then they pull it up into these boats that are like aircraft carriers. They're gigantic. And nothing, they have what's called bikill. The bikill is phenomenal. And most of them don't survive because they're caught by their gills and it kills them. And then, you're catching whales and dolphin and all kinds of fish they're not even aiming at. And then when they do shrimping, it totally disrupts the bottom of the ocean, which is totally disrupting the coral reefs. So it's hard for me to eat fish. The salmon are the lowest numbers that they've ever been. But they are starting to make these biosustainable artesian fisheries, and I hope we go that way, because it turns out if you stop fishing this way, if we can ban this kind of horrible, it's just as bad as the cow situation, it's so cruel, but nobody sees it because it's out in the middle of the ocean. But if you ban that, as some places have, some countries have, that actually the fishermen start catching more fish. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's not, because if you give, just like anything with Mother Earth, if you give it a chance, it comes back. It comes back. So if we keep going this way and we don't ban this kind of fishing, it's said, and it just makes me so sad to even say this, that we may have a fishless ocean by 2050. I mean, that's just blows my mind. I don't know about you, but so how to pick fish? I guess I would, even though we always recommended wild fish are better, well, wild fish are better, but maybe you should save that wild fish for like Christmas or some holiday, so if you're eating that every day, it's really anti-planet. We've got to get biosustainable fish that are healthy for you. And those, you know which ones those are, but you don't want the ones that have a lot of mercury in them. Although they fish the heck out of the tuna anyway, even though it has a lot of mercury in it. But anyway, so look for biosustainable fish. I have a fish oil at Randall Wellness. It's biosustainable. And don't forget, I have a store. If you go on my website, drgmrandall.com, that sells a lot of these supplements and stuff if you need it. So, okay, so we talked about animal protein, we talked about cheese, we talked about eggs. Legumes are really good for you. You want them to be organic. This guy Gundry, he makes everybody think that beans are going to kill you. I mean, the entire population of Mexico and Latin America would not be existing if that was true. But look, you soak your beans overnight, it removes the lectins, and then you can eat them as you like. Prepare your beans as you like, lentils, whatever. They're a very, very good source of protein, very good for you, and certainly not deadly. So that's peas and lentils and beans of any type. Hummus, I love hummus. And then we talked about milk alternatives. almond, coconut. I love oat milk. They even have flaxseed, hemp, oat, coconut, soy. It's always a deal with soy. People are like, oh, soy, it's so bad for you. Well, it's not bad for you. It's actually quite good for you. But there are a few situations where people should not have it. And that's people with a thyroid on the edge. And, you know, because it has phytates and it will interfere with the production of thyroid. Well, if you're on thyroid and your thyroid is well balanced, it's not an issue for you. You could still have soy. If you had a history of estrogen-dependent cancer or breast cancer, you probably wouldn't want to eat a lot of soy. So those are the special situations. Maybe prostate cancer as well. Okay, how about nuts? Well, nuts in general are quite good for you, and they're, you know, they're a mixture. They have of the polyunsaturated and the saturated, but they're good protein sources. The problem is you just can't have very much of them. They're, you know, like you can have 10 almonds or 3 Brazil nuts, and, you know, the pistachios you can have the most of, 20, but you can't have them all on the same day or the same time, you know, so you can have nuts. They're quite good for you. Seeds are really good for you, and they have a different kind of oil. They have an omega-7, so that's something you want to seek after, because you want a balance of your omegas for proper membrane function in your brain and all your cells. And then avocado is excellent, although I don't know if you guys know about like the avocado thing, but like 1 avocado a day. If you can get locally grown avocados, I prefer that, because there's a whole avocado trade thing, like a drug trade going on with avocados. I swear, people, you know, because avocados got so popular. And there's a Netflix on it right now on Netflix. And as far as butter goes, everybody wants their butter. Okay, this is cool. So there are vegan butters that are so good. You don't want to go back. I'm not kidding. This lady Miyoko, 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 is just a genius. She's not only invented this incredible butter out of a combination of nuts, coconut, I think there's maybe cashews, and I don't know if there's macadamia. No, I don't think there's macadamias in there, but it's just delicious. I don't know how she did it. But she also has made cheeses, many different kinds of cheeses. And when I do my pizzas and I put them up on Instagram TV, those are the cheeses that I use, and they're really very good. And they don't have a lot of salt. I don't know. She's a miracle worker with that. And oils. Okay, so everybody wants to know what kind of oil to cook with. I think most people know olive oil, but don't burn it, right? Don't burn it. Avocado oil has a little higher burning point, so you might want to try that. And there's also almond oil, hemp seed oil, and safflower. I don't really like safflower oil. Okay, so that's the oils, and of course we want to avoid the saturated fats. And if you get the grass-fed meat or the regenerative meat, it has very little of that. Vegetables. Oh, vegetables. Yay, vegetables. You want to eat 4 or 5 or 6 servings of vegetables and fruit a day. Oh my God, that's like so much. Well, honestly, think about it. If you put bamboo shoots, broccoli, cauliflower, and I'm just picking some out of here, cilantro in a pan, and you cooked it with a little bit of water, and you put this much in a pan, how big would that be at the end? It would probably be about 1/3 the size. So, it's not as much as it seems like it is. You can get that 4 or 5 servings in, and why? Because you want those phytonutrients. You want those antioxidants. to keep your DNA healthy. There's these things at the end of your DNA called telomeres. And they're little tiny pieces of DNA that have to do with your longevity and how you feel and how you think. And so those, you want to have long ones. Okay, you want to have long telomeres. And people that eat a lot of fruits and vegetables grow their telomeres longer. You especially want the types of nutrients, the phytonutrients that come from dark colored berries, and other dark purple foods. So shoot for those and grow your telomeres. It basically resveratrol is the nutrient, but I take a supplement called Vitanox from Standard Process that has a mixed phytonutrients in it. It's really helpful. And then the other types of vegetables that have a little more calories are like your squashes and beets and potatoes and yams and sweet potatoes. You can have those. Everybody thinks, oh, I can't have potatoes. Yeah, you can. They're a very good root vegetable. They have lots of nutrients in them. They're nutrient dense. And there's no reason you can't have them. You just don't want to eat the ones that are this long and eat 4 or 5 of them. You want to be reasonable. Eat about this much. But so part of your plate is going to be that 4 ounces of meat that you get 3 times a week, maybe not, if you don't eat it. I don't eat it, but if you want to, I'll describe the best kind. And then the other part of your plate is going to be all like a rainbow of vegetables. So greens and sweet peppers and squashes and tomatoes and all. They have all these colors of cauliflower now. They're just beautiful. I want to put them. Well, a lot of people do put them in a vase on their table. Have you seen those? They're just gorgeous. Okay, so and then fruits. We want to eat our fruits. So, if you're sensitive, if you're totally healthy, don't worry about it. But some people have sensitivity to fructose, or then you want to watch out and not eat too much of the fruits. But I tolerate fruit really well. And I love my apples, and I don't eat many bananas because they're pretty glycemic, but I eat a lot of berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, love them. Don't eat dried fruit, because dried fruit has a lot of sugar in it, unless it's a sometimes thing. And mangoes are really good. The best fruits, like bang for your buck with fiber and phytonutrients, are mango and blueberries and the other dark berries. And I told you I got some Harry's berries the other day from the store. Oh my God, they're just intoxicating. They're so good. Papayas and oranges and nectarines and pineapple, they're all good, okay? Just not the dried fruit. Now, as far as grains, everybody wants to know about grains. I am a sort of anti-gluten, so I'm sort of against wheat, because I just have seen a lot of gut patients, and I was a gut patient myself, so most gut patients do much better without wheat and gluten. Gluten tends to get into that epithelium of your gut and cause it to be a little leaky, and then the more gluten you eat, the more chance you have to get a leaky gut, and then when you get a leaky gut, over time, you have more and more predilection to get autoimmune disease. So we don't want that. So cookies, crackers, bread, pasta, you can get alternatives now. Like I get this great pasta that's made out of lentils. There's any wheat in it. And it's more firm and more al dente than regular pasta. I mean, they have great alternatives. You don't have to suffer. As far as rice goes, I mean, the best rice are colored rice. I recommend lotus rice. It has the least arsenic. And there's purple, and there's red, and there's green. And they're very nutrient dense. And you can get them online, Lotus. Or a lot of the health food stores carry them, and they're organic. Another non-gluten grain, of course, is quinoa. And oatmeal doesn't have any gluten in it. And amaranth. And good old buckwheat. So, and then water. What do you drink? What do you drink? I ask my patients, what do you drink? Oh, I don't know, a glass of water a day. You need to drink half your weight in ounces of water a day. I'm one of the few people I know that I actually do that, and I love it. I mean, you are water, okay? H2O, we need it. You know, you need it for all of your metabolic reactions. You need it to flush out the toxins. You need it for your detoxification reactions in your body. You can't leave home without it. You know, if you want to do green tea, it's very good for you. It's got green tea catechins, which are antioxidant and anti-COVID. And black tea has its benefits as well. But you don't want to drink fruit juice. Fruit juice is too sugary. Eat the fruit. Okay, don't drink the juice, right? If you want to put it in a smoothie and with a protein powder or something, that's fine. You can do that. Okay. So that's a lot about food. Do you know more now about food choices than you did before? Do you have any questions? Okay, I'm going to talk then about exercise. And I ask people, are you exercising? Oh yeah, I exercise. Well, what do you do? I walk. Well, walking is pretty good if that's all you can do. If a person really wants to lose weight, I recommend intermittent fasting. I even recommend it for maintaining weight, improving metabolism, and guarding against elevated hemoglobin A1C elevation. So there's several different, according to Healthline, there's several different popular methods of intermittent fasting. The first one is the 16-8 method, implying hours, and that's also called the Lean Gains Protocol. It involves skipping breakfast and restricting it's really timed eating, you know, it's restricting your eating period to 8 hours, such as 1 to 9 p.m., or I like that a little earlier, like 11 to whatever, and that works out well for me personally. They also have the Eat, Stop, Eat one, and that's where you fast for 24 hours, once or twice a week. And then there's the 5-2 one, where you consume 500 or 600 calories on 2 non-consecutive days a week. Now, they've shown that at least that first method, the 16-8, has been very beneficial for improving metabolism, lowering blood sugar, lowering hemoglobin A1C, losing weight, and of course it has to do with your portions and the food you choose too, but it's just a really good technique. All right, so the main thing is pick a program, stick to it, make appointments for yourself to eat, and if you are, trying to diet and you mess up, everybody falls down. Don't beat yourself up. Just get back on the horse and go. It's okay. That's just something that we all do. We learn by falling down and getting up again. So we already talked about the water. The other thing is, if you are going to cheat, eat on your diet, count to your age before you do it. Especially as older people, that would probably change our minds. Anyway, otherwise, call somebody, go for a walk, change the channel, do something different. Don't feel defeated, okay? Because that'll just get a skip in your record. And regular exercise is really important to increase your metabolism. It's a formula. You can't increase your metabolism with just withholding food. You need to exercise. So I like to recommend HIIT training, like I said, for people that are orthopedically sound. That's when you run or exercise as hard as you can for as long as you can. I mean, as hard as you can. That's about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe. And then you stop, catch your breath, and you do it again. You do about 3 or 4 times. And that's equivalent to, running a marathon, practically, apparently. Cardiovascularly, it's actually better for you than running. which is hard to believe, but I believe it. They did the measurements. So that's if you're an exerciser and a runner and you don't have time to run, that's a good method for you. Personally, I do Pilates a couple of times a week because it's about strength, balance, right, and coordination. So I do the Pilates, which gives me my balance and coordination, and then I lift weights a couple of times a week, and then I ride my horse. So that's enough exercise for me. All right, and we talked about fat. So we understand that better now, and keto may not be a great thing to do. So let's talk a little bit about mitochondria. Mitochondria are these little energy factories, and they live in your muscles. They're concentrated in muscles and concentrated in liver because they also detoxify as well as make energy. So they need certain nutrients in order to pass those electrons along inside to generate literal electricity. And that's what allows you to, move your arm or whatever it is you do and make you feel energetic. So we want to pay attention to our mitochondria. We want to feed our mitochondria. And we don't want to over-toxify them, because if we're eating too much toxins, or I think most of you know that, of course, drinking and smoking and that kind of stuff is, just adding to the amount of toxins we have to deal with in the environment. But we want to eat as many plant nutrients or phytonutrients as we can to feed our mitochondria. Certain foods that are especially beneficial for mitochondria are green leafy vegetables. Those are also good for detoxification. So if you feel toxic, my usual green drink recommendation is maybe spinach, or if you have kidney issues, maybe stones, maybe not, maybe collard greens, maybe dandelion greens, really intense greens, always cilantro, unless you don't, some people don't have a cilantro gene, and always parsley, because those are the big chelators. What's that mean? It grabs onto those toxins and takes them out. So, and then you can put a little something that makes it palatable, like apple, or maybe a carrot, and that is a very cleansing drink there. So, back to mitochondrial boost foods, dark greens, we said, spinach, kale, bok choy, broccoli, Swiss chard, and romaine, and also berries, blueberries. You need a certain amount of protein. Everybody think, you don't have to eat meat to make meat or to get glutathione. You can get it from vegetables. It's just amino acids, People think you have to eat meat to make meat. Need to meet my friend, the silverback gorilla here. His muscles are like, right? Never ate a molecule of meat in his life unless a bug slipped in with his bamboo shoots. But, there are the hugest, most muscular mammals on the planet do not eat meat. And so that is a fallacy. So we also want to consume a certain amount of healthy fats, which are omega-3s. So we want to get those biosustainable omega-3s, and which can help maintain the membrane of your mitochondria. You need that healthy membrane to pass those electrons along, make that energy, and to spit out those toxins. So we not only the fish oil, but the avocado, coconut, olive, or flaxseed oil is helpful for that. Okay, I also recommend a lot of lemon, or sometimes apple cider vinegar. Helps the digestion and helps the metabolism. You want to get a fair amount of CoQ10, which can come from, that drives your mitochondria, and that comes from nuts, unless you're going to do the healthy, range-free, grass-fed eggs, but not too many of them. And your mitochondria need nutrients, so a really good way to feed minerals. And if you eat Brazil nuts are full of minerals. They have a ton of selenium, they have a ton of magnesium, and other minerals are they're little mineral packs. I'll never forget the guy that came in, and I was working at an addiction center and taking holistic medicine inside of a rehab and addiction center, and being one of the first ones to do that. And I was doing these, which we still do in the office today, NutriVals, and we do that at Randall Wellness, where we look and it analyzes every single nutrient, every single toxin in your whole body, and then we figure out what we can do about it. So, and how your metabolism is, functioning and spinning. And so, when I did that on him, I did on every patient, and I'm turning the page, and I knew that on the next page was going to be the magnesium. And one thing that happens when people overdrink is they get a low magnesium. And this guy was a drinker, and he drank in his car, but he was an oil rigger. So he would spend time in his car when he'd make a lot of money, but I don't know, he lived in his car and he ate Brazil nuts all the time. So I turned the page and I said, well, your magnesium's probably going to be low, and it wasn't. I said, do you eat Brazil nuts? He says, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. So he maintained his magnesium by eating Brazil nuts. So I always remember that. It's kind of cool. So, okay, that is kind of the rundown on that. So the other thing we need to talk about, which is so huge right now, is stress. That's a big part of Younger Longer. How do we deal with stress? Well, exercise is one thing, but that's not everything. So I teach if you meditate, that's great. Do your meditation. If you pray, that's great. Do your prayers. All of that helps. Some people don't meditate, don't pray, or they need something in the moment when they get upset. So I teach them to breathe. We're all born knowing how to breathe, like a baby. You ever watch a baby's tummy rock like this? When they breathe in, their tummy rises. When they breathe out, it falls. So this is called your hara, or your ocean of energy in Oriental medicine. And if you breathe in through your nose for a count of 5, you allow that tummy to come up. And then you breathe out for a count of 6. You allow that tummy to go down. Then you count in your head. So you count like this, like a cadence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Simple. So you just keep doing that, then keeping that rhythm. And pretty soon, if you do that for 5 minutes or even less, just check it out. You'll feel it. You'll feel, oh yeah, I feel more relaxed. It's been proven by science, if you do that kind of breathing, you will slow down your brain waves, you will lower your blood pressure, you'll lower your the tenseness of your cardiovascular system, you'll calm your gut, and you'll lower your flight or fight neurotransmitters, and you'll increase your beneficial neurotransmitters. And overall, you're just more relaxed. So you stop the flight or fight, and you increase that vagal tone, and that will last for 6 hours. 5 minutes for 6 hours. Good deal, right? Yeah, so try it, okay? And it's very, very simple. If you need a copy of that, we have copies at the office. If you need a guide for that, we can send that to you. That's admin@drgmrandall.com. That's my office. Or the number is 818-591-7600. The main thing, really, in doing this breathing meditation or prayer is to keep a good attitude. If you can keep a good, positive attitude and be aware of the good things in your life, and aware of your meaning and purpose in life, that goes a long way for younger longer. I think that's one of the biggest, most important factors, is to have that good attitude no matter what. Okay, sometimes bad things happen, but you can make it through that. You can make it through. Do the breathing and just know, dig down deep to your soul and allow that energy that is the energy of God to come forward and heal you. If you can do that and live that way, it's gonna help you be happier, help you feel better. It's, you know, it came to me one time that healing, because I've spent most of my life trying to figure out better ways to heal, and also have had to heal myself, is an expression of our soul energy. You know, whether we're giving it to someone else or whether we're using it to heal ourselves. It's our soul energy. And for me, it's my purpose. So it double duty on that. I heard my teacher and friend, Mimi Guarneri, who is the founder of the Academy for Holistic and Integrative Medicine, which I'm board certified with, talking to Deepak Chopra, and I had this idea about healing energy, and I heard him describe to her something very similar, although in a Vedic language, you know, which I don't know. But that was just so affirming for me, so that was pretty cool. So remember, you can be your own healer and just be positive and dig down deep and be open, because God is everywhere. God is up here, God is in here, in everything and everybody. And we all come here because we come to serve each other. We come here to serve other souls. And when you get that, that makes you happier too. So be of service. And they've shown that people that are of service, that do random acts of kindness, it increases their T cells and their beneficial neurotransmitters. They didn't even do it on purpose. It was just something they wanted to do. So if you're compassionate to others and yourself, kind, pay attention to community, and be grateful, all of these things will, you know, alter our immune system, alter our beneficial neurotransmitters, our chemicals, our mood, and help us to be happier and live longer, and help us to heal. So that's the sort of higher realm. In the term, everybody wants to know, what should I take? What do you take? You know, as far as supplements or vitamins or something. Am I going over? No. Okay. And so I'm going to tell you. 75% of our healthcare dollars in this country, 75% of the money that we spend on health goes to diseases that are food related. Isn't that crazy? We just kind of talked all around it, but what it really is, what it boils down to, is inflammatory diseases. I mean, a lot of it is diabetes, but that's inflammatory. We just talked about that mechanism. So inflammation is the final common denominator of what takes us out. So that's what we need to protect against through all the things that we've been talking about, but also there's a couple of things that you can take. They're not magic bullets, so you need the whole deal. You know, you need to eat right, you need to exercise, you need to deal with your stress, you need to have a good attitude, you need to be of service. But also, there are a few things that do help, and one of them, they're aimed at inflammation and protecting your DNA and oxidation and that happens in your body from the toxins. My number one is curcumin. Most of you know that. I have a good one on my Shopify store. I also have another one I like to recommend. It's called Theracumin. They're both made to create the highest level of free curcuminoids in your bloodstream. That's what you're after. That's the most anti-inflammatory thing you can do. Fish oil, like I said, biosustainable fish oil. We talked about that. We have that at Randall Wellness as well. Resveratrol, we talked around that a little while ago when we talked about food. And grapeseed extract, beets. Beets are incredible for you. Alpha lipoic acid, which is the #1 energy booster. You know, you can't really make energy if you don't have that. When we do these NutriVals and look at all their nutrients and throughout their whole body, that's part of the analysis because we study the mitochondria. So we want to see what the alpha lipoic acid level and the CoQ10 level is. And then when appropriate, I believe that bioidentical hormones do help people feel younger longer, but they're not for everyone. That's individualized. Okay, we did it. Yay! So we covered live younger longer. Do you have questions? Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. I saw Kate on there before, too. Any questions? Come on, you guys have questions. I love questions. You can also DM me your questions on Instagram. And do follow me on Instagram at Dr. Gill Randall. You're welcome. You can always go back and listen to this again. I know it's a lot of stuff, but it's all super important. And what's good for you is good for the planet. And what's good for the planet is good for you. So we all need to last longer, and that's the plan. Okay, love you guys so much. Okay, bye-bye.